buy-sell agreements are very crucial for a closely held business because it allows the business and the owners of that business to come to terms ahead of time for different events that might come up through the course of the life term of the business. So a buy-sell allows for the business to protect the management of the business and for the owner of that interest to be compensated in any number of different triggering events. So typically, death of an individual, a divorce can trigger it, disability, bankruptcy from a partner. Those are all events that could impact the business, and these types of arrangements allow for the parties to plan ahead of time when things are more amicable than the stress of whatever those triggering events caused. Normally when a business starts out, take a partnership with two partners, for example, everyone's optimistic at the outset, and you don't begin with that idea that you might hit a rough patch at some point, but it does happen. And if you begin with a buy-sell in place when things are amicable and there's no stress from any of the types of triggering events that would trigger a buy-sell, then you can have a plan in place that's fair, that the parties agreed to at the time, and then the event hits and there's already a plan in place. The parties both know what's going to happen because it's written down on paper and they've agreed to it ahead of time. And there still might be some disputes over if there's a formula for valuation or things like that. But in the event that you don't have that in place and then there's a dispute, what happens to the partnership when the two partners don't get along? You end up in litigation and neither party knows exactly where they stand, and it's a much more expensive and drawn out process. So valuation is always a tricky part, and there's almost unlimited different options in terms of how you come up with your mechanism and your pricing. You can go with a fixed price that the company updates on a certain periodic scale annually, every several years, based off of what the board decides to do. You can have a formula-driven model. You can have it based off of just a value derived from the assets of the business or a multiple of its revenues. What's important about it is that you have flexibility where you can change as the business grows. So if you set, while the company is very young, a very simplistic model, and then after years of growth, you're still stuck with a simplistic model, you could be undervaluing the growth that the company has benefited from. So the parties involved need to be willing to re-examine the formula and the buy-sell if they don't have a formula that kind of would grow with the company instead of just a fixed price that the board picks. If you have a circumstance where the majority of the board can pick the price on an annual basis, one issue that does pop up is if the majority is not the one who's looking to get rid of their interest, there's an incentive to have a lower value set for that value, which can lead to disputes when a minority interest is trying to depart and you've got an artificially low value.